I pay 59
Independent advisory to Nigerians.
I think we should be cutting cake.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, but the cake should get here very soon, actually. The cake should get here very soon.
I hope it gets here before I leave the studio.
I think so. I think so. I think it should, so that you can get to at least enjoy the cake as well.
No problem.
But it's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you.
We were having a discussion prior to this coming on here, and we're talking about the Nigerian economy and where we are as a nation, how far we have been able to come. In your opinion, how far have we come? Look at your sector, is banking, the money, the monetary value. How far do you think we have actually come at 59?
Thank you. In terms of, talking about the banking industry, banking subsector of the economy, you will realize that it's not about, when you're looking at it, it's not 59 years. I think First Bank is 125 years this year. Okay, so be that as it may, let's look at it from when Nigeria got independence and the trajectory of growth in the banking industry. From my own assessment, I think we have done pretty well.
Okay.
Though there was room for improvement, because if you, I don't know how old you are when there was a glory time.
Yes.
Yes, when they had major infrastructural rallies, where you had, those big O3 banks, UBA, First Bank, Union Bank, and UBA, and lately Afribank. They were colossus in the banking industry, and they did make active involvement, in infrastructural rally in this country. And then you had when it was liberalized, and of course it wasn't thought through. It should have been scaled gradually, but you had so many bank failures and the reforms and all that. Then you also had skills problem, because as you begin to grow exponentially without the adequate skills to run the institution, you had those issues. But be that as it may, you have had innovation in this sector for the past 59 years. I have always said that if every other sector had done what the banking sector, done, innovation is there. You have about the best brains, coming into the industry, maybe because they give majorly decent wage, so you have very good hands there. But it's not enough to support the kind of
population that we
have now. But I think generally speaking, on the scale of 1 to 10, you could say the Nigerian banking industry has done up to 7.5.
Wow.
Yeah, we've done well in terms of innovation, payment system, supporting trade. Not without its own problems as well. You have some issues bordering on conduct, unprofessional ethical conduct, but it's expected that, in such a very sensitive sector, you have to have some few infrastructures here and there. But generally, I want to say yes. Given the context, the structure, the overall, I would say that we've done well. Yes, there have been this general apathy towards lending to the real sector, and that is also because of the structural bottlenecks, the values as to borrowing money and all that, credit culture and all that. As also, but that is being retweaked now, believing that there is going to be more excitement in the banking industry once again, in order to support economic growth
in the nation, in order to support economic growth. Now, if the banking sector has done this well when it comes to, growth, the processes, I look at some of the feats like the e-transaction, the online banking platforms. I'm sure that we're still facing quite a number of challenges. For example, I was going to do a transaction with our friend who was just here with us in the studio yesterday, and he wanted to do a transfer to me. It took us about 30 minutes, and the platform kept telling us service currently unavailable. I'm not talking about the short code now, so it's not the link between the telecoms. I'm talking about the actual platform itself of the banking. All kinds of excuses. In the long run, It took about 30 minutes, but we had to use another one to do this transaction. And it's not limited to one bank. At one time or the other, quite a number of these banks that are supposedly doing well, I've not gotten it right when it comes to e-transaction. Yes, Nigeria is going towards the cashless policy, or kind of system. If the banking sector is not ready, how do we benefit?
I certainly will bet that I'm going to expect this question from you.
Okay.
No doubt about that.
Okay.
I think you need to understand the process.
Okay.
Yes, the infrastructure of this country is the major problem. It's not necessarily the bank's platform. Okay?
Okay.
It's the connectivity. I think yesterday was particularly hard.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible because maybe something was down or the other. Yeah, it could be.
Maybe with the telecoms or
with the telecoms.
with the internet.
Because the point is that the platforms are just as a medium. What happens, it just pass through. So it's really not necessarily the bank's platform that's the culprit all the time.
All the time.
All the time. So, but it's got to do with the general infrastructure in the country. That's, what the issues are. But I think they have been addressed because people are talking about cashless. Cashless is the way to go. The global trend is towards cashless policy. So you cannot be left behind. That we have experienced one hiccups or the other in transacting is not enough reason for us to say, okay, delay the cashless policy. Personally, that's what I believe, and I think rational people should look at it from that view. Cashless policy is not other than policy designed to less use of cash, so as to get, reap the benefits of a cashless society. It's very critical that we understand the huge benefits that accrue from cashless policy. One that we can relate with clearly is the issue of theft. Cash theft. You don't see people breaking into homes now. That, because people were piling tons of cash in their homes. Another good example you could just relate as a clarity to that, what I've just said, is that you remember the traders from the East
who carry their cash wherever they're going
to night bars or to their this, and they're attacked and robbed and all that. That creates big hole in their revenue profile. But all that is stopped because you have
the cashless policy.
Yes.
Hold on, let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. We're still looking at the economy in focus, and we'll be back after this short break. All right, welcome back to the Independence broadcast on NMI TV. My name is Tomisin. I'm still the host for today. I hope you enjoyed that music by King Sunny Ade, who was talking about Nigeria belongs to all of us. Nigeria now our home belongs to all of us. So we should actually put hands together to make things work. Before we went on that break, we were having a discussion with the CIBN National President, Mr. Uche, and he was talking to us about the benefits of getting people, getting the benefits of the cashless policy and, getting the people who are unbanked into the system so that the benefits can be enjoyed across board. All right, you were talking about some of those benefits. You talked about theft and the issue of traders who usually travel from the east to Lagos and far places with huge amounts of cash no longer have to do so.
Yeah.
They definitely can just, do their transactions by just doing a small transaction on their phone.
Yeah.
Are there some other benefits?
Of course, there are huge benefits. One is someone has alleged that the cost of even printing 1,000 is more than 1,000. So when you're looking at costs,
to the nation itself.
Yes, to the nation itself. Cost and management of currency, transporting it from all that is huge cost. We need to reduce, trim those excess fats. That's one. And then again, it's, by the time everybody, embrace and migrate to the electronic platform, it provides big data. And with data, with machine learning now and robotics, you'll be able to now glean from the behavior of the consumer spending and all of that to even enunciate policies that, so it stands a lot of benefits because one, you are integrating everybody to the system, their activities. The other way is that also it means that government can also, the transactions, there is no hiding place, so you will not, it will help them boost collection of revenue in the form of tax. So that's also there. So many other benefits in terms of...
so the government will make more money
yeah,
and the people's money will be safe.
Yes. And then again also, you find out that Nigeria is not an island to itself. This is a global phenomenon. Once people have confidence in the payment system, you expect some inflows, free flow of, and then black money. Illicit flows of money can be checked and all that.
Okay.
So there are a lot of benefits that accrue to the cashless policy. I think what we need to do is, more advocacy, more information to the people, knowing fully well, that this Nigeria stands to gain from this cashless policy. I think it's a laudable one.
Now let's go straight to the people themselves. Nigeria is trying to achieve sustainable growth, by itself. They're trying to have indigenous businesses thrive, and I know that the banking sector gives loans, but at a very high rate. Oh my God, the rate is so high right now. Despite all that the banking industry is doing, it's quite difficult for people who run businesses to take loans from you guys. How do you think Nigerians can benefit, or what is the banking sector doing to ensure that the average businessman, the average manufacturer, the average SME owner, can get to take loans and, from the bank, not too expensive a loan as well, because I know the Bank of Industry gives loans as well, but these loans take a long process. It's not like the consumer banks are so fast, with what you do, but the Bank of Industry takes so long, So how can we benefit the common Nigerian, the average Nigerian?
Thank you very much. I think you have two questions there.
Yes.
One is cost, and the other one access to credit.
Yes.
In terms of a high interest rate, yes, emerging economies, developing economies, it's not unusual for you to find, high interest rate. Other the reason that I can give actually is because one, low productivity, the economy is not properly diversified, and of course it's an issue of demand and supply, the very scarce one that is around, a lot of people, pursuing it. So, of course, simple elementary economics will tell you that once demand outstrips supply, you have to have a higher cost. Because we are import dependent, the economy is not diversified. We are a monoproduct economy. It's only when we sell crude, we get, effort to diversify the economy has been gory till, I don't know. So you find that our productivity is low. We are not producing enough. So the Naira is not, you're expecting appreciation of the Naira. No, it will continue to remain at that level because
it's
of our
static
low
as well.
productivity. And then, of course, savings culture is also, we are so much consuming. We're not saving enough to have that pool of funds that will be channeled to the real sector, to productive sectors, that will create jobs, economic activities that will, bolster the economy to bring down costs. It's all that. But as the policies are beginning to be more focused at trying to drive down costs, we will see, gradual reduction in interest rate. So it is not there's no magic wand to bring, fiat. It is not done, and you do it at your own peril. Because so what we do is that let's fix the broken pieces and put them together, and then we'll begin to see a properly run economy with the structures all in place. You will see that interest rate will come down, and as people begin to be productive, especially those sectors that hold the proper lever for growth, agriculture, health, education, and all that, you will see, Then coming back to access to credit. Yes, that's true. The banks and shied away because, of course, these are rational entity. They go for areas where they have less risk. Before now, you have the banks more at home with buying treasury because the government itself is, a victim. They are culprits to this because they had, borrowed more than they had crowded the private sector. Because the banks will actually go to where, the sovereign risk is, the risk is reduced. And that's, so you find out attention. And then, of course, there are so many factors. Identity is an issue because today you borrow money, you run away to another, nobody can get you and all that. So it's,
and they're no longer available.
Yeah, they're no longer available. So identity management, was an issue that make you not to even learn credit. And then our borrowing culture, where people thought that the money borrowed to them is a national cake. It's it's government money, not knowing that it's that money that the banks have aggregated, collected from various households and begin to put to this, to those that require it. And they take them as if it's government money. That was various intervention before now. In the agri space, we have credit agri scheme or something, all those schemes. Those loans that were doled out to even our rural farmers, they all got lost. Yes, you may say the conceptual framework wasn't right and all that. It's all boiled down to we don't have pure identity management that you can now. But all that is being addressed with the BVN. So you begin to, and then, so we are now shooting for economic inclusion, not only financial inclusion. Because financial inclusion, that's why I challenge a lot of bankers with the Deposit Money Bank, Central Bank, and mobile operators are talking about share agency network expansion facility. It's to be designed deliberately, intentionally, to bring the unbanked to the unbanked to be financially included. So they can now access various financial services that will help them grow their very little business activities. So as we begin to see traction in that space, you will see a lot of activities because Nigerian population is predominantly the youthful nation. So we need to do something. It's an advantage, yet it's a time-ticking bomb if something is not properly done. And so it is in the bank's interest to get involved, to pursue, to be in partnership with the government to make sure that we create wealth. Because at the end of the day, it washes back to the system and the banks become more prosperous and we deepen the economy. So we are going to translate for the most important thing now is not even only the financial inclusion, it's the economic inclusion. But for me, that's, So, and then you've also seen the government, Central Bank came out with a policy, the LDR ratio, loan to deposit ratio, which is simply that for the deposit you collect, you give a certain percentage, and now they moved it up to 60%. That's the minimum you should have, 60%. What is that designed to? So that we can channel the necessary credit, required oxygen to the SME. The SME hold the growth potential for this economy. So I know that if we all rise to the occasion and implement this rightly, we will see. It's been done in other climes. So when people say, Nigerian factor, I don't believe it. That if it's been done, it's been proven in India that has the same demographic and the same characteristics with us. Why can't it be done here? I believe it can be done here. So you will see that the report I've just read is that there has been a spike, a small increase in deposits, in loans to the real sector. Because the government now has, the era of banks investing in treasury bills is almost gone. So they will now become more innovative, looking for various avenues to, deploy those deposits that have, mobilized to the sector with the sole aim of, creating that economic inclusion. Yes, people have argued How do you do with the illiterate rural area? My view is that all we need to do is that, conversation,
Yes.
tell the story,
Yes.
change the narrative, and let the people know. It's just like what we were talking about, the global GSM. When the GSM came in, how would our rural mothers manage it? But today, they receive alerts, they can
And all that.
They can
And
manipulate
all that.
this. It's just
And they can actually do transactions on their phone, no matter how small the phone
exactly.
is.
So I think what we need to do is that we should be patriotic enough, because this economy holds a lot of potentials. Once we get our policies right, review our structural imbalances, diversify the economy to those areas. I've said, can we look at educated mind will be creative. A healthy body will be, be strong enough to carry out activities. So those are very critical areas that we need to invest. Then you talk about those critical sectors that will, aggregate from the whole value chain. How do we, critical look at it and overhaul the policies over there? And we're beginning to see, because of the unemployment, they said necessity is the mother of invention, because the jobs are not there. We're beginning to see our young graduates being creative, going to agriculture and feed, because we'll feed the people, healthy people. We'll be able to, good nutritious, will give us healthy people. And then as we also open their mind through education, you will see a lot of innovation. It's not rocket science. Let there be that political will. Let there be that collective rally to say, this Nigeria, because we've been thoroughly abused in all the various areas. For me, I think we should all come down and fix this economy. We can do it. China did it. India is doing it in our very before. So why can't Nigeria?
Why can't we do it? Brings me to the issue of policy, the new economic policy team that the president has just put together. It seems a lot is inching on them, and I'm sure you know quite a number of them personally. How would you rate, or what should we expect based on your knowledge of them? What should we expect from their performance?
Yes, I want to formally appreciate the President and Commander-in-Chief, President Buhari, for listening to the yearnings of the people in terms of wanting to leave a legacy. And then, so, of course, he has done, what he's done is to select very good sound economics to come and, okay, can we think, how do we, because it's still that same patriotic zeal, that bent, making sure that this country, because you're sitting on amazing resources, how do you galvanize effort with the right kind of policies and execution to make sure that this country, So that's what he's done by appointing us. So kudos to him. But my only advice is that as they come up with the policies, it's one thing for advisors to advise, another for the man they've been advised will carry out those things. So I believe that it's a very good initiative. It's good, it's welcome. There are areas of very good sound and economists. So we expect that they'll come out with things that will make sure that we tweak some right policies that will grow the economy. So for us, there is hope. There is hope. I can see hope. All we need to do is that the only area that I need that we've not done, value reorientation. How do we reorientate our values? It's very simple. What drives a lot of people over in some of these societies that are is legacy. It's not greed, what late Professor Claude Ake called primitive wealth acquisition, where you live and die.
Primitive wealth. All right, welcome back. We're still talking to Mr. Uche Olowu from CIBN. Of course, we've been looking at the economy in focus, and it's Nigeria at 59. So we are taking our time to look at every sector and look at what Nigeria should be looking at in the future. You were talking about the economy and some of the policies that have been put in place. I like to talk about unemployment in the banking industry. Quite a number of people lost their jobs. I know you can give me all of the reasons for that, truthfully, but quite a number of people are graduates of banking and finance, accounting, and many of them are still jobless. I know that you're trying, the banking industry as a whole is trying to establish some or do some partnerships for the e-transactions. I know they have the small shops now, the mobile money shops, and so many other shops where you can now, just walk in to get your transaction, get your money without going to a full-blown bank. How do you propose that it can capture the graduates, OND graduates, HND graduates, the BSc graduates who studied accounting, who can at least mop up, quite a huge number of people into that industry and have to reduce unemployment in Nigeria?
Thank you very much.
You're laughing.
Why I'm laughing is that there is that much that the banks can absorb. The banks are not owned by government. They are not charity.
Yes, definitely.
They are owned by investors who want returns with the money. Basically, you need to always watch your costs if you have to improve on your bottom line. And one of the major head costs is the wage bill of staff cost. But I must say that there is no other industry that is employing the number of mopping up the graduates that are coming up than the banks. There has been so much from the bank been taking more than any other sector I can think. The only sector that you can say, okay, is that maybe those are the entrepreneurial studies. Look, let me say that the bank, under normal situations, even in other crimes, the bank employs just very few, not necessarily. And now technological disruption in banking will even further reduce that, because now repetitive tasks are now being moved over to technology, and that so rather what we should be talking about is that our graduates should be skilled to take care of the opportunities that technology is creating, because as more jobs are lost as a result of more orders are being opened. Okay, so that's what should be our focus, and that focus should be there should be a handshake between the labor ministry, okay, and the trade organizations, and see how far they can create jobs. But as we speak today, I think the banks have a fair share of their employment, because anywhere you see now these banks, even right away, because of the huge unemployment rate, they've raised the bar to certain requirements, so as to because if you advertise for maybe 5 or 10 vacancies, you see thousands, so the banks can employ all of them, and then not return anything to the investors. So what you should do, if you ask me, is that maybe the banks should, in their CSR, should do more in terms of making people acquiring skills that will help them, enable them live a productive life. That's, because there's limit to which the bank can absorb. Let's fix the fact. And crown it that the fact that these are privately owned organizations, so they're not government. Even the government development agencies, even Bank of Industry and all that, there's limit
to what they can employ.
So the thing that we should do is that, I don't say, okay, say you read banking and finance accounting. Yeah, it's very good. What education does for you is to liberate you and open your mind for you to see opportunities where others are not seeing, on how you can relate with your environment and dominate the environment, being the charge you were given when you were born. Because all of us were given a charge to dominate our environment. So you think outside the box, you look at what services, what value, what gap you need to, solve. Because, we have a lot of space in the coding space, the technology space. We see a lot of people there going in there. The agri value chain, like I said, we shouldn't just be exporting raw materials. We should process them, especially in cocoa. Why should we just drive cocoa bean and export? We should have it where we should provide our own homegrown beverages that we'll be proud of. That, like what happened in India. In India, from head to toe, I'm also a victim. From head to toe, you have everything made in India. So those are the things those are the kind of things that we should do. I must commend our fashion creative industry. They are doing very well. And that's why you see a lot of funds are being channeled there. Because again, it is very, 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 very crucial sector. What drives the economy of California, I think, is the sixth largest economy in the world. It's the creative industry. So we can develop that again here. So, and we have creative minds in Nigeria. So our teaming population can, so yes, instead of waiting for banks to
employ them.
Banks does not have that capacity
to actually employ.
No. Let's not. I mean, it's not achievable. It's not there. Let's not. It's not there.
I like the fact that we've been able to establish that regardless of what the banking is doing, the economy is getting robust enough to, if you can see into it and take advantage of some of the opportunities, to see areas where youths can take advantage. So thank you very much, Mr. Olowu, for being in the discussion this morning, for joining us, and happy anniversary. Unfortunately, the cake is not. I'm not sure if the cake is here.
The cake is not here, so
maybe you're going to wait a little so we can cut the cake together.
No, thank you for having me. I think I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
Well, all you need is DHL my cake too.
Oh, but that wouldn't be a bad idea. I could DHL your cake. I could do that.
Thank you.
I could do that. Another quick break we'll do. When we come back, we're looking basically at women in nation building. That's another critical group of people who occupy about 51% of the Nigerian population, and that was as of yesterday. So let's not talk about today. I'm sure babies are being born already as we're talking right now. I have a woman who is celebrating her 50th today. So I know quite a number of babies are going to be born today, and majority of them are going to be